1 more minute until we begin. So we are going to be putting through a lot of polls throughout this webinar. So you may need to be able to access your computer, and generally each poll runs for about 15 to 20 seconds. So fastest fingers first in terms of putting through your votes. Right, I think it is time we begin. So I'm sure most of you know why you are here today. And the idea behind this webinar is to help improve your social confidence and to reinvent yourself or parts of yourself in a social aspect. So what I would like you to imagine is that you are attending an event with 250 strangers. Immediately, your heart begins to pump. Your hands begin to sweat. The air catches in your lungs, and you arrive at this event, and you walk through the doors, and you freeze. You panic, and all eyes are on you. So you pull out the only lifeline that you have, your cell phone. And there you look at that cell phone as though there is a very important matter that you all of a sudden must attend to, while you find your way to the closest chair in the darkest corner. There you take your seat, take your first deep breath in. And you look around the room, and everyone else looks cool, calm, collected. They're saying the right thing, they're doing the right thing. And you wonder how on earth at this age, you still cannot master this very simple skill. Now, what I want to hear from all of you via the chat is how many of you have felt all of these emotions, or even just one of these emotions before. Say yes in the chat room. How many of you have felt all of these emotions before, or perhaps only one of them? Put your hand up, and in virtual language, that means yes in the chat room. Yes, yes. Thanks, Melanie. Thanks, Edwin. Thanks, Kane. Yes. Patricia, yes. Candace, yes. Cell phone security blanket. Lucia, yes. Okay, so what's really interesting about all of this? Jinx, yes. Mariska, yes. Thank you. What's interesting is that Rafia, welcome. Thank you. Yes, please let us know where you're from. What's interesting about this is that studies have shown that 3 out of 4 people feel exactly the same way as you. 3 out of 4. But yet you look around that room and everyone else looks cool, calm, collected. They're saying the right thing, they're doing the right thing. And it appears to you that you're the only one that feels that way. Well, the good news about this is that you are not alone. Most people feel the same way as you, but some people are far better at learning these skills or having the social skills to interact so that it gives the impression of confidence. So what I would like to do now is to do a quick poll. And with that poll, I would like you to share with us your reasons why you experience social discomfort or anxiety when attending events. Is it because you won't have anything to say, people won't like you, people will reject you, or that you'll be left standing on your own? Why do you experience anxiety when you attend events? So I'm publishing the poll now. You have 20 seconds to make your vote. Fastest fingers first. We are now down to 15 seconds. Down to 10 seconds. The votes are starting to roll in. Down to 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Last votes in, please, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic. So results are out. 33% of people said that they won't have anything to say. 0% said people won't like me. That is fantastic. Well done. 22% of people said people will reject me. On their own in the corner. What's interesting about this is that human beings, we are naturally communal beings, and we find security in numbers, security in groups. Hence why there's this constant instinctual fear within us that we will be left standing on our own. So if we think about prehistoric times, if you were on your own, you were more likely to be eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, or in Africa, a lion, or India, a tiger. So there's this instinctual need to feel part of a group. And what's interesting is that one of human beings' deepest needs is the need to feel accepted or part of a group. So much so that when we are rejected socially, for example, a group of children when we were younger said, no, you can't be part of our friends. Or, people laughed at you at work one day. Our brains register social rejection in the same place that it registers physical pain. So according to the brain, it cannot tell the difference between social rejection or being hit by someone. It is the exact same pain to the brain. And interestingly enough, doctors said, well, if that's the case, can we take a painkiller and will it make us feel better about being socially rejected? So what do you think the answers are? What do you think the answer is? Can you take a painkiller and feel better about social rejection? I'd love to see your answers, yes or no, in the chat room. Jinx, I see that you've said we lost connection. So 44% of people said that they experienced anxiety because they were fearful that they'd be left standing in the corner alone. Rafia, you say no, you cannot take a painkiller and feel better about social rejection. Okay. Patricia said, I do not think so. Jinx, no, unless it's a sleeping pill. Shabangi, no. Lucia, no. Okay, so what's really interesting about this is that, yes, you can take a painkiller and it will help you feel better about social rejection. And I'll give you an example to consider. Many people who take drugs take it as a way to escape social rejection and pain. Okay, so that is why you have so many people addicted to drugs. They are trying to make themselves feel better about that social rejection or that disconnection from society. Okay, so this need to feel accepted or to feel part of a group is integral to not just our survival, but also our fulfillment and our happiness. And that is essentially what we will be focusing on today. So a quick introduction on who I am. So a couple of you probably know me from the School of Etiquette channel. So I'm the CEO of the School of Etiquette. And I am also the new CEO of Huru Learn. So Huru Learn is my online learning brand. Okay, so what you will see is a lot of my courses that are offered in face-to-face trainings have been moved over to online versions on Huru Learn. So some things you may or may not know about me. I am very short. I'm 5 foot tall. So most people actually can't believe how short I am. And I think the reason I get away from it is that I've learned to cultivate these skills of presence and charisma. But I wasn't always like that. In fact, as a child, I was chronically shy, and going up into sort of my teen years, I was extremely shy. And in fact, every coach needs to have a coach. So I am currently attending coaching sessions. And what I've realized is the first 12 years of my life have actually changed or adjusted my purpose and my passion for life. So what happened in my earlier years has now directed me down a path of what I do for a job every single day. And a big part of that is that I help people feel more comfortable because I was shy and confident in different environments. I also help people fit in, but not just fit in, to stand out. There is nothing greater than the sense of feeling self-confident and self-assured so that you can feel comfortable in different environments. And when the time is right, you can stand out. Because we don't always want to stand out. Sometimes we want to blend in, but to have those skills to stand out when you want are incredibly powerful. And in fact, I think Marilyn Monroe said, true sexiness is being able to walk into a room and no one noticing you. And then being able to walk into the same room and everyone noticing you. And what she was trying to say there is that it's up to you to be able to adjust to your environments, to read the room and to know how to behave in accordance with what that room or what that environment asks of you. So that's a bit of background on me. I love people. I love animals. I love the outdoors. I love colorful, eccentric people. You know, my whole profession is focused on people, and to find people that are authentically themselves and eccentric is just one of my passions. So what you will be able to do after this webinar, so you'll be able to start a conversation with anyone. And earlier we did the poll, and in fact the stat was 33% of people experience anxiety because they worry they won't have anything to say. So today you'll be able to start a conversation with anyone. So at least for 33% of you, that anxiety should be reduced. You will feel more confident when socializing. You'll be able to get along with almost everyone, even those intimidating people, which most of us tend to shy away from. Then you'll also be able to create a magnetic impression where people just simply like you. So for me, this is incredibly powerful stuff because these are skills you use every single day of your life. So the topics we're going through is the quickest way to build likability and connection. If people like you, they will help you, support you, choose your company's contract over somebody else. They will date you, they will marry you, they will go the extra mile for you. You will learn how to start a conversation with anyone, how to handle intimidating people, how to talk so people actually want to listen to you. And then a bonus point right at the end, finding connection the quickest, how to find connection very fast. And another little bonus for you is how to excuse yourself from a conversation. And, you know, that comes in handy, especially when you've been cornered by a chatty Cathy and there's just no way out of this corner. How do we close that conversation off politely? Okay, so you may be thinking, why does this webinar impact my life? Why is it important? What does it actually do for me? So what we're learning today is part of something called soft skills. Soft skills being your social skills, your people skills, and your emotional intelligence. Now, soft skills doesn't really explain the importance of the skills you're learning. You know, soft kind of comes across as not hard hitting, unimportant. But in actual fact, let's talk from a financial sense. 85% of your financial success in life is dependent on your ability to get along with people, whereas only 15% is due to your technical skills. So let me say that in, normal English. 85% of the money you will make in your life comes down to how you get on with people, whether people like you, how you get along with them. You will make you study at school or university. Yet we spent 13 years at school, another 5 years at college or university, I'm not quite sure all the terms. So let's call it 17 years of studies, which account for 15% of the money you will make. Whereas what will give you most success in your life is things that we weren't really taught at school. We were expected to learn, but we were never actually taught. Okay, so not only that, but our relationships are probably the things that give us the most joy and fulfillment in life. Our relationships, our ability to get along with people, those are the most meaningful aspects to us. That's what gives life the sense of meaning. And another study, just to further this idea that soft skills are so incredibly powerful. A study was done at Google where they found that people would rather work with someone who's incompetent in their job, which means they're not good at their job, but that they like, than work with someone who's competent, good at their job, but they don't like. So we would rather work with someone who doesn't know what they're doing in their job, but we like them. So all of this should start telling you that our success and our fulfillment comes from these skills, the skills that you will learn today. So before we get started, I want to run another quick poll. And that poll is, how would you rate your social confidence? 1 being very high and 5 being very low. Okay, fastest fingers first, ladies and gentlemen. I'll give you 20 seconds to do so whilst I take a sip. Okay, the votes have started to roll in. I'll give 5 seconds more. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so we have 0% of people who have rated themselves as having very high confidence. We have 11% of people who said 2, so you obviously feel that you have a relatively high sense of self-confidence. Then we have 77% who are sitting in the middle, who believe that they sort of, I would assume that you think you kind of have a middle level of social confidence. Then we have 11 people that voted for 4, sort of low level of confidence, and 0% who said 5. Okay, so most of us are sitting in that middle area, which actually gives us a lot of scope for improvement and growth. What's interesting is when I started the school, I obviously learned all of these skills and I went on courses and I thought I was pretty socially skilled. But it's amazing when you learn those little tips, those little techniques that make all the difference. So what I do want you to remember is that people will forget what you said. people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And in fact, 75% of a buying experience is based on how you made people feel, not on the product or service delivered. Okay, so once again, as human beings, we're feeling people. We're deep feeling beings. So this need to connect, this need to get along with people is integral to our well-being and survival. So some of you may be familiar with what a chameleon is. So I'll give you an explanation. A chameleon is a little creature, it almost looks like a lizard, that when it's on a green leaf, it changes its skin color to green. Whereas when it's on a brown branch, it changes its color to brown. So what's amazing with the social chameleon is that, or rather with the chameleon, is that it's able to adapt to its environment in order to survive. Okay, so what I would like us to aim to be is what I call a social chameleon. Now, some people say to be a chameleon is a bad thing. Well, hear me out as to why it's a good thing. When you're a social chameleon, you are able to walk into different environments with different people, and you are able to observe what the general behavior and expectation of behavior is. And then you are able to bring out the aspects of yourself that are similar to that environment. So you're able to blend into that environment. Remember, the deepest human need is to feel accepted, to feel part of a group, whilst still standing out. Okay, so when you're a social chameleon, you're able to adjust your behavior and to recognize the aspects of yourself that are similar to other people. And this actually leads me on to the first point of today, and that is, how do we build connection with people? How do we get people to like us authentically? Okay, not fake liking, authentically get on with people. So here's the thing. Human beings have a natural bias, and that is that people like people who are like them. And the reason we like people who are like us is that we recognize familiarity in them, as if they're from our own group, the same group as us. So when we're trying to build connection with new people or with strangers, what we need to be is like the chameleon. We need to look at this person and we need to try and find aspects of where we are similar. Okay, where do we have the same experiences, the same likes, the same common interests? And then it's up to you to point those out. So once again, you're not faking this. You're not pretending you're interested in something you're not. You're showing interest in something that you're both interested in. For example, if someone says to me, I absolutely love gardening, I would say, yes, me too. I'm an avid gardener. What do you grow in your garden? Okay. And I agree with them because, yes, I'm an avid gardener. So there is nothing more powerful than for someone to say, yes, me too, or I also love that, or I also do that. So when you're speaking to people, you need to constantly be looking out in that conversation for where you have shared interests, where there are interceptions and similarities, and then point those out. Okay, and the key is that you have tact here. The key is that, you don't go overboard and you're exaggerating and you're saying, yes, I love that and I love that, even when you don't. Again, you want to be authentically yourself. So in order to build connection, you have to look for similarities and point them out. And we'll go into how you actually find those. So how do we start a conversation with someone? A lot of you said you were fearful that you wouldn't have anything to say to people. Now, having been an extremely shy person previously in my life, I think some of my friends would say, Courtney, you never stop talking anymore. Okay, and that's because I've now mastered how to start a conversation with people. And the idea is that when you converse with people, it shouldn't be just you talking the whole time and the other person listening. It should be like a game of tennis. One person hits, the other person hits. Okay, so starting a conversation comes down to, first, easiest way is to genuinely compliment someone. To say, wow, that's such a beautiful shirt that you are wearing today. So that breaks the ice, and then you jump in to what we call immediate surroundings. So remember, I said, how do we build connection with someone? Intersection of shared interests and experiences. So when we speak about immediate surroundings, we talk about what is happening around you. So if I had to walk into a training with you and I'd never met you and we were perhaps at the food or the drinks table, I might turn to you and say, wow, that's such a lovely blouse that you're wearing. And you might say, thank you. To which I would respond, so what's brought you on this course? Okay, it's an immediate surrounding. Something else I could say, isn't this food beautiful? Or isn't this food tasty? Or what cocktail did you decide to go for? So what you're doing is you're looking at what's happening around the both of you and you're mentioning that. So other things are, how do you know the host? How do you know the happy couple that's getting married? How did you meet them? Is this your first time here? What brought you to this hotel, or what brought you on this holiday? What brought you on this course? And, have you been here before? So that's the quickest way to break ice. Compliment them and then to mention immediate surroundings. Does everyone understand what I'm saying here? If you don't, please put it into the chat room and I can go further into that. But to summarize that point, how do we start a conversation with someone? We look at them, we find something to genuinely compliment them on, and then we jump into immediate surroundings. So what brought you here? How do you know the host? How do you know the couple? So now you've broken the ice, you've started the conversation, and you think, how on earth do I keep this conversation going with this person? So my first response to this is that the greatest gift anyone can possess is to take an interest in another person. The greatest gift anyone can possess is to take an interest in someone. Thank you, Jinx. I appreciate the response. So what I'm saying there is that when you show someone that you are interested in them, first of all, it makes them feel validated. It makes them feel important. And it says to them, I find you interesting enough and important enough to actually listen to you and to give you my full attention. And when you do that, you're actually encouraging people to speak. Okay, so in keeping with the idea that you take an interest in someone, the easiest way to keep a conversation going is to ask people questions about themselves. People love to talk about aspects of themselves or their interests. So if you are a savvy socializer, you will be able to just ask them questions about themselves. So if, for example, it was what brought you on this training, and they say, well, I absolutely love learning. It's one of my passions. I might say, okay, so what are some of your other passions? Do you have any hobbies? To which they might say, yes, I absolutely love reading and I love watching movies and series. Okay, so what's happening there is I'm asking questions, and by doing that, it's giving me more content to chat to this person about. So I'm going to show you a little secret trick, and that's what I like to call the spider's web. Okay, so you can take a look at this conversational spider's web, and what you will notice is at the end of each string, there is a topic of conversation. But each topic is linked to another topic through the other threads of the spider's web. So if you want to keep a conversation going, you need to seamlessly move between these topics. So for example, I could say, so do you have any hobbies? To which they might say, yes, I love gardening and I love watching movies and series. So I would say, oh, okay, so what's your favorite movie of all time? And so they talk and they talk, and somehow we get onto the movie Vicky Cristina Barcelona, for example. And I can feel like this topic of movies and series is coming to an end. We've dried up Game of Thrones, Peaky Blinders, whatever it may be, and now we're moving. It's time to move on to the next topic. So what I will do is I will think about the current topic we're talking about. So let's say Vicky Cristina Barcelona is the movie. I would think, what do I know that relates to this topic? So it might be, oh, so that movie is set in Spain. And Spain is actually one of my favorite countries that I've traveled to. Have you traveled to any interesting countries, or what has been your favorite country? So what I've done there is I've seamlessly moved from movies to travel. So now we start talking about travel, we get onto, Italy or Thailand, and I say, speaking about Italy and Thailand, those are two of my favorite cuisines. I absolutely love Thai food and I love Italian food. The pizzas and the pastas are amazing in Italy. What is your favorite cuisine to cook or to eat? And then I move on to cooking or food. Okay, so what you can see is as I see a topic is starting to close, I think, what do I know that relates to this topic? And by finding that relation, that link, you're able to seamlessly move from one topic to the other, keeping that conversation going. So I think let's do another poll now. And that poll is, do you find it easy to find interests that you have in common with strangers? Yes, answers yes, definitely, or no, it's always a little awkward. So fastest fingers first. I will give you 5 seconds. 3, 2. There's a battle royale between these. And 1 second. Closing off the poll. So most people, 66% of people said no, it's always a little awkward. Whereas 33% said yes, definitely easy to find things you have in common. So what you should realize now, those individuals, 66% of you, is that in order to find something that you have in common with people, there is a secret little bonus tip that I am going to share with you. Okay, so how do we find a topic that we have in common with someone within 5 questions? Okay, and most of us will actually find it within 1 to 3 questions, but 5 at the absolute most. So what I want you to do is to look at this conversational spider's web, to look at the topics and to think, what are your 5 favorite topics to talk about from this? I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. What are your 5 topics that you enjoy speaking about? And in fact, while you think about that, I'm going to ask Kane, my colleague, to please come on screen. And I'm going to show you, hello, Kane.
Hi there.
I'm going to show you how you would find something you have in common with someone within 5 questions. And in fact, we can play the same game with you so you can see when we hit the same topic of conversation. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to think, what are my favorite topics? And I'm going to ask Kane if he likes them. So let's say I would start off. So Kane, do you enjoy traveling?
I do. I love traveling.
Fantastic. I've only asked Kane that question because I love traveling. So there, within one question, we come. So do
Courtney, could you,
you enjoy cooking?
Courtney,
So
could you please
Kane, do
repeat
you
that?
enjoy cooking?
Oh, I love cooking too. I'm not the best at it, but I am trying.
Okay. So already out of 2 questions, I've got 2 things in common. Do you enjoy reading books?
Yes, I do read quite frequently. I do enjoy it, but I must admit my favorite thing to do in my pastimes these days is just to sit back, enjoy, and watch movies and series.
Okay, nice. Perfect, Kane. Make it harder for me now. Okay. So, Kane, do you enjoy sports?
Oh, now you've actually hit something that I do not enjoy. I don't watch sports and I've never played sports in my life, and that's a true story.
Okay, so what other topics or what other hobbies or things do you enjoy doing?
Well, like I said, in my pastime, I actually really enjoy that you mentioned it earlier, but one of the series that I've really been enjoying is Peaky Blinders.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Kane. So, what I wanted to show you here is that I choose my favorite topics and I only ask about those topics. That way, if the person says, yes, I'm interested in it, then you already have a point of connection. You're able to build connection and likability with that person. If they say no, no problem. Okay. You just say, oh, okay, so do you enjoy traveling instead? Or what else do you enjoy doing? And they will give you, 1 or 2 things that they actually enjoy doing. So, and chances are you'll have something in common. So, how do we find a topic that we have in connection with someone? We go to our 5 favorite topics and we just go into those. Do you enjoy traveling? If they say yes, then you talk about traveling. If they say no, you say, do you enjoy cooking? If they say no, still no sweat. Do you enjoy reading? If they say no, still no sweat. That's when I go to, so what do you enjoy doing in your spare time? And I push the ball back into their court. Okay. So you come up with your 5 favorite topics and then you ask questions related to that. Easy peasy. Perfect. I'm going to move over to our next part of the slideshow. So, how to talk so people listen. I'll give you 2 scenarios. So the other day, I gave a webinar where I was I started the webinar and I've been practicing a lot for it, and people couldn't hear me, and so I had to end the webinar, and that was the end of the story. Okay, that is scenario 1. And in fact, I'll give you more of my face here. In the midst of COVID-19, the world was in chaos. People had to suddenly change. They had to pivot. And one of the things that I had to pivot with was the fact that I had to move over from face-to-face trainings to virtual trainings and webinars. And so I hosted my very first webinar. And I practiced and I practiced and I sweated and I panicked. And finally, the day came for this webinar to go ahead. And so I'm prepped, I'm ready, I've breathed in, I've prepped myself with confidence, I'm feeling the wind in my hair, the joy in my heart, and I start talking to this great audience. And as I start talking, I see chat, comment after comment popping up. We cannot hear you. We cannot hear you. We cannot hear you. We cannot hear you. To which my heart dropped something like this. And I just thought, what do I do now? I have 60 people waiting to hear from me, for me to speak, and they can't hear a thing. Okay, so that is 2 variations of how you can speak. Obviously, there's many variations, but how do those 2 scenarios compete or compare? So I will tell you what makes the huge difference, but please feel free to, share in the chat room what you thought made the difference. But what really makes you stick out from the sea of sameness is the eye contact that you give to people. Okay, so it's very, very disjointed when someone constantly looks around the room, looks down, head hanging. Whereas when you maintain eye contact with people, and if there's a group of people, you need to look each person in the eye. And when you're doing that, when you do that, you actually are drawing them in. There is no other place for those listeners to look other than in your eyes. Okay. Then the idea is the storytelling. No one likes just facts and points to be regurgitated. Instead, we want to hear stories. We want to hear tonal inflections in the voices. We want to hear what was happening in the scene. Was it a hot day or a cold day? Okay, and obviously you don't have to go overboard when it's just a conversation, but human beings are 66% more likely to remember a story than they are to remember a fact or a stat. And this is ingrained into us. This is instinctual. Since the beginning of mankind, we have been telling stories as a way to share lessons, as a way to pass history down. And so there's a part of the brain when you start to hear a story that actually opens up and it pushes the listeners into a meditative state. Okay, so instead of giving facts, give a story. Then the inflection, having a change in the voice. There is nothing more boring than listening to somebody who always talks in a flat tone like this. You will very quickly lose everyone with something that sounds as tone deaf as this. Okay, so rather we need to have changes in the voice. Then finally, something that's really important is the pause. What happens is most of us know we don't like an awkward silence. So when there is silence in a room, everyone sort of goes, and they feel that little bit of discomfort. And then you break it with the rest of your story or the rest of your comments. So you use that pause as a way to create more sort of romance in the story and mystery and expectation and anticipation. Okay. And then finally, hand gestures. So I'm a little bit hamstrung, not hamstrung, a little bit hamstrung by my little screen. But generally, we say you should have airtime. Airtime means you should be feeling air under your underarms so that your arms are actually further out from your body. And that when you speak, you make use of hand gestures. In fact, they found that the most watched TED Talks in history one of the things that made their viewership more significant was the fact that the presenters used more hand gestures. Okay, so when we see body language being used in the right way, we find it far more compelling. Okay, then how to handle intimidating moments. So what I would like us to do is actually do our next poll for the day. And that is, when I feel intimidated, I go quiet, get more chatty, I get more talkative, ask people more questions, or find a chair in the corner and avoid those people like the plague. I'll give you 15 seconds to complete your vote. Ten seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and last votes in, everyone. 1. Okay, so 75% of people said they go quiet, and that's actually a very typical response, okay, as these statistics show. 12% of people said they ask people more questions, right on, and 12% said they find a chair in the corner and avoid those people like the plague. Okay, so when it comes to handling intimidating people, often that sense of intimidation is only something that you have built up in your head. Okay. In that intimidating person's mind, they're probably thinking, why does no one want to speak to me? Oh no, here I am standing on my own again. Okay, which is what most of us fear, is that we will be left standing on our own. So just think, that person that's intimidating you is probably feeling quite intimidated themselves. So the best way to manage that situation is actually to go up to that intimidating person and put them at ease. Compliment them, make them feel comfortable, ask them questions, and take an interest in them. And so you're probably thinking, Courtney, you're making me do the exact opposite of what I want to do. In fact, I want to run away from that person and never see them again. Well, I challenge you to do the opposite. Remember, that person could be feeling uncomfortable. They could be feeling awkward, and they could be feeling intimidated, just like you are. But what I found is that when you take an interest in that person and you ask them questions, they relax and you relax. So let me share a story with you. I attended a party, a friend of mine's birthday party recently, and 3 women arrived at the party, and they were dressed like they'd just come off the coolest New York catwalk. And you know, they looked so great, and their attitude was very sort of to themselves, very insular, and they gave off an extremely intimidating impression. So instead of avoiding them, I went and actually sat down next to them, and I knew them from a long time ago, from when I went to university. So I sat down, and for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I just sat and took an interest in them. What are they doing with their lives? What's been happening? Wow, that's incredible. You know, how incredible that your life's had such a turnaround. What made you go down that path, etc., etc. By the end of that conversation, they were so open, so joyful with me. And so much so that on several occasions later in the day, all of them came up to me individually and said, you know, it's so wonderful to chat to you and to see you again. You really have turned into the most wonderful person. And what I'm trying to illustrate with that story is that when you break that icy barrier with someone that you think is intimidating, you have no idea the benefit it has to them and the benefit it has to you. So next time you meet someone intimidating, sit down and take an interest in them. Ask them questions, and what you will see is that intimidating facade or that intimidating belief system you have built up completely crumbles. So ladies and gents, this is our solar system. So I want you to look at that screen. You see the beautiful giant sun, it's massive. And you see all the way on the other side is Pluto, which I believe is not even a planet anymore, but there sits Pluto. So what I want to make clear to you today is that in this 45-minute webinar, I have given you skills that can have a huge impact on your life daily, your sense of fulfillment, and in fact, how much money you will make. So do you want to be happier? Do you want to have better relationships? And do you want to make more money? Most of us will say, hell yes. That is what soft skills, that is what people skills and social skills will give to you. And the more you learn, the more you will jump up those planets until eventually you arrive at the position of a sun. Now, I'm not sure if you know of anyone who you see as kind of like a sunlight figure. You know, the second they walk into the room, you just feel the whole room lightens, and people just love to be around that person. People orbit around that person like they are the sun, because they have this magnetic character to them. Okay, that is what social skills and soft skills development actually gives you. So I have been teaching for 7 years through the School of Etiquette, and our courses are premium and they are powerful. And if you've gone onto our YouTube channel, you would have seen the testimonials that people have put on there about how life-changing these courses are. And so I've had people like Shubangi, Lucia, people from all over the world saying, Courtney, you know, I wish I could attend your courses, but I live in Argentina or I live in Iran and there's no way that I can afford to get there. So I wanted to find a way to create courses that were life-changing and still be able to reach those people on the other side of the world. And so that is what Huru Learn was. That's why I created it, was because I wanted to give people like you from all around the world, the United Nations, an opportunity to learn these skills that will change your life. And so the one course that I created, and you know, I was a chronically shy child. I then developed myself, and then I started the school and I learned even more. I took all of those skills that I've spent learning for the last 20 years, and I created what I believe is a short, sharp, and impactful course that can take all of those skills that took almost 20 years to learn, and I've put them into what I call the social blueprint course. And that is the Social Brand of You online course. So that course is actually $195. If you had to attend a face-to-face training with me through the School of Etiquette, that course would be $590. Okay, but getting it as an online training, you're getting it for $195. However, the special for that training is that you will get it for $59. And that is this webinar deal, because you have taken the time to invest in yourself to sign up for this webinar. And I want you to be treated. I want you to be rewarded for that. Okay. Included in this offer is that you will get access to our Facebook group, our secret Facebook group. And you might be thinking, oh, what's that about? I don't think people quite understand the value that we're offering in that Facebook private group. You get access to all of our short courses, our free short courses. You get access to podcasts. I run challenges, happiness challenges. In the coming weeks, I am running self-esteem challenges. You get free access to all of that free content. And for me, when I attend webinars and when I get given free content, I'm blown away. that someone who has spent money investing in this is giving it to me for free. So that is generally $180. If you take advantage of this deal, if you harness the opportunity that this webinar has presented to you, you will get that for free. Okay, so as I've mentioned, it includes short courses, podcasts, happiness challenges, live videos that I give daily or weekly, and then a bonus, all the body language videos that you would need to get ahead in different situations. Then this is another incredible addition to it. So you will also get access to the strategic body language course. Now, body language is one of my absolute passions. And the reason being, when I started to learn it, I could start to see how people were feeling right then in that situation. And I was able to head or either people or to be more successful in meetings. Okay, so I created, through one of my passions, the strategic body language course. Once again, if you had to attend a face-to-face training with me, that would be $500. Here, it's $195. And if you take advantage of the special today, you'll actually only get it, you'll get it for about $20. Okay, and I'll tell you why. We'll work up to this. You'll also get access to our free ebook on networking. So a lot of what you've learned today is socializing, but how do we go into a networking event and interact? How do we make an entrance? Who do we talk to? What groups do we join? What groups do we choose? What do we do? Okay, so today you have this one-time total value offering. What all of this amounts to is $584. If you had done this in a face-to-face training with me, this would be close to $2,000, $3,000. Okay, but again, because you have taken the time to invest in yourself, I want to give you a special. And that special gift from me is that you will get all of this for the value of $79. You will get 2 of my premium courses, plus access to our Facebook group and the ebook for $79. Okay, you wouldn't even get that an online course for that price. Okay, so you have 30 minutes in which to harness this opportunity that's been presented to you. So I'm putting the offer out there. If you are keen to take it, press on the button and say, yes, I want this offer. I want to take advantage of this. You will never see this price again. Okay. And again, I want this as a gift to you. So I have a final bonus point before you tootle off. And that is, how do we excuse ourselves from a conversation? How do we politely excuse ourselves? So let's say, for example, you are talking to what I call a chatty Cathy, someone who doesn't stop talking. The key is that you need to take back control of the conversation. You can't just interrupt the person and say, oh, I'm so sorry. Turns out I've got to leave. Okay, that's incredibly rude, and you'll leave them feeling rejected. So instead, you have to take back control of the conversation. So when that chatty Cathy breathes or takes a break or comments, I will jump in and say, wow, that's so interesting. I didn't realize that, steam engines were so interesting. Anyway, Trevor, it's been so wonderful chatting to you. I do, however, have to excuse myself, but I hope we find another opportunity to meet again. So I'll break that down. You take back control of the conversation. You comment on how great, wonderful, lovely it's been chatting to them about steam engines. Explain that you do need to excuse yourself. And when you say that, you don't say, sorry, I need to go to the toilet, or I see someone I need to talk to, you just say, so wonderful chatting, but I do need to excuse myself. And then you speak of a future meeting, but I hope that we will meet again in the future. Okay, so take back control of the conversation. Something like, oh, wow, that's so interesting. I never knew that. Anyway, Trevor, it's been so wonderful chatting to you. I do, however, have to excuse myself, but I hope that we get another opportunity to speak again later. Have a wonderful evening, Trevor. And off you tootle away. Okay. And when you actually excuse yourself, you can't turn around to the person behind you and say, hello. What you actually have to do is you have to move 3/4 of the room away from that person so they don't feel like you've rejected them or just try to get rid of them. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, Patricia, I see that you've said, is access to the course forever? Yes. So once you purchase it, you have a lifetime access to social brand of you and to strategic body language and to the Facebook group. Okay, so it's a lifetime access. And what I just want to talk to you about with the social brand of you course, I didn't quite go into it. So with that course, you will learn how to build your self-esteem. So a lot of us say our self-confidence is at 3. This course will help you go to a 5. When you have a high self-esteem, there is no task too hard. There's no situation too overwhelming. Okay. When you have that self-esteem, that self-acceptance, you are able to go where you please and do what you please. No longer are you held back by the opinions of others. You will also learn more about conversations, how to build likability, not just through conversations, but through mirroring. You'll learn neuro-linguistics programming techniques to help you connect with people, to help you build likability. You'll learn how to make entrances, what to do when you've made an entrance into a big room, a small room, a group of friends where there's no space to sit at the table. What do you say to people? You'll learn how to network rooms, how to mingle confidently, how to be the most memorable person in the room, if you want. Because remember, these courses teach you how to feel accepted, how to fit in, but also how to stand out when you want. So what I can guarantee you is that these skills will change your life. And I'm a living example of that. From being chronically shy and being believed that I was stupid and incapable because I couldn't socialize correctly, I couldn't talk to people, to standing up in front of thousands of people today, delivering messages on confidence and social skills. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is your final offer. Patricia, is there any etiquette training in this course? So with this course, Patricia, etiquette is the fine art of getting along with people. How do we get along with people? What are the socially accepted ways to get along with people? So yes, the social brand of you course is exactly that. It's how do we get along with people? What is the right way? What are the protocols? Thank you, Edwin. I'm so pleased to see that. So ladies and gents, it's been a pleasure to have you on today. Thank you for your patience and thank you for gifting yourself this, because most people don't take the steps to change, adjust, and grow. And if you're doing things like this, your heart and your head are in the right direction. So you have 30 minutes to take advantage of this offer. And I'll give you one more final bonus. If you purchase today within the next 30 minutes, I will give you all of the slides for this webinar, which goes for a price of $95. Wonderful, everyone. I will stay online for a couple of minutes if there's any more questions and give you the opportunity to take advantage of this deal. So in revision, if we want to build connection with people, we find where we have similarities, shared interests, and you point those out. To start a conversation, you compliment someone, and then you start with immediate surroundings. What made you come here? How do you know the host? How do you know the couple? To keep a conversation going, we move from one topic to another by thinking, what do I know that relates to this topic? So if it's traveling, I can move to cuisine. If it's from cuisine, I can move to hobbies. Okay. In order to talk so people listen, you make eye contact. You use inflections and pauses. You use hand gestures and you make use of storytelling. When it comes to handling intimidating people, go and take an interest in that person and speak to them. Ask them questions, and you'll see that that whole facade that is intimidating will begin to crumble. And then finally, your 5 questions to find connection. What are your 5 favorite topics? And just ask people, do you enjoy reading? Do you enjoy gardening? One of those questions will at least be a connection. Okay, and generally, most of the time, then finally, politely excusing yourself, take back control of the conversation, comment how great, wonderful, lovely it's been chatting to them about whatever topic, steam engines, mention that you do need to excuse yourself and speak of a future meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.